Good morning, students. Now, today my topic is materials, metal, and non-metals for class 8th in chemistry. So, today we will discuss about what is the metals and what is the non-metals. So, firstly, we discuss about the metals and after that, non-metals. So, what is the metals and what is the need to identify the metals and non-metals? So there are various properties of the metals and the non-metals. So one by one we discuss about it. So firstly we discuss about the metals and non-metals. So the basic property, physical properties of metals. So there are various types of the physical properties of the metals. So now we discuss about one by one in detail. So the first properties of the metals is physical state. Physical state. Physical state means that at room temperature the metals becomes solid in nature. But there are an exception of mercury. It becomes liquid at the room temperature. So except the mercury, all the metals becomes solid at room temperature. So we write here physical state of metals at room temperature. The metal becomes solid in nature except mercury. Only mercury is the metals which remains liquid at the room temperature. So it is an exception in metals. And after that we discuss about the next physical properties of the metals is metallic luster. So we write here metallic luster. Metallic luster means the metals becomes are shining in nature. When a light is incident on the metal surface, then it becomes shiny in nature. Now we take an examples, just like if we have a copper sheet, then it becomes yellow in nature, and the iron becomes red and brown in nature. So we can say the metals becomes in shining in nature. So that property are known as the metallic luster. So we can write here metals has shining. Metal becomes shining in nature. For example, we can write here copper, and the most famous metal is gold, and the symbol of gold is Au, etc. So the second property is the metallic luster. Metallic luster means metals become shining in nature, and the example is copper and gold. Now the third property is malleability. Malleability. So what is the malleability? So malleability is the property of the metals by virtue of which it can be converted into the thin sheet. So we can write here the definition of the malleability. The metals can be converted into thin sheets. So it is the property of the malleability by virtue of which metals can be converted into the thin sheets. And the example of malleability is aluminium foil. Aluminium foil we can use for wrapping of the food items. And the next property is ductility. Ductility. So what is the ductility in metals? So metal can be beaten and melted and then it converted into the thin wires. So it is the property of the malleability in the metals. So metals can convert it into thin wire, and this property is known as the ductility. Now example, copper wire and aluminium wire used in houses, in our fans. So it is the property of the metals, ductility. Now the next property is the conduction in metals. So we can erase here. Now let's we move on the next heading, conduction. So conduction is the property of the metals that the heat can transfer from one place to the another place in metals. So we can write here, the heat can transfer from one place to another place. Now suppose if we have an iron rod, it is a point A and this one is the point B. Now suppose by external means we can heat it. By external means we can heat it point A. Then there are molecules remains present in any atom, in any metals. So gradually these metals heat from point A to point B. That means we can say that the heat is transferred from the point A to point B. So it is the property of the conduction, and the metals are the good conductor of the heat and electricity also. So we can say that we easily flow the electricity in the metals. So conduction is the property that by virtue of which heat can transfer from one place to the another place in a metal. Now the next property is sonorous. Sonorous means sound. Sonorous means sound. That means the sound can travel from one place to the another place in a metal. So we can write the definition of the sonorous: sound can travel from one place to the another place in metal, and this property is known as the sonorous. So what is the sonorous? Sound can travel from one place to the another place in metal, and this property is known as the sonorous. And the next property is density. So metals has high density than water. Now suppose if we take an iron nail and drop into the water, then it is easily sink in the water. How? How it is sink in the water? Because the density of the water is less than the metal. So we can say that the density of the metals is high. So we write here density of metal becomes high. And the next heading is melting point. So melting point, this is the next property of the metals. So metals have high melting point. We can write here metals have high melting point. Now if we take here an examples, so we take the tungsten element which is used in an electric bulb. It has the high melting point, due to which it resists, it can bear the high melting point. So we write here an example is tungsten, which is used in electric bulb due to its high melting point. So students, this is the some basic properties, physical properties of the metals. So let's we revise quickly.